with Annabelle Hudson.
Hello and welcome. For the first time in 2 years, the Dubbo Showground will host the Dubbo Show, one of the largest agricultural shows in Western New South Wales. It's the first major event at the showground since COVID-19 forced many of the regular events to cancel, and there's a big crowd expected.
It has taken the organisers of the sheep show at Dubbo more than a week to set up the pens, which will display some 500 sheep this weekend. It's just one of the many areas being transformed at the showground before thousands of people flock to the 148th Dubbo Show.
So our preparations started out probably 3 months ago in the lead up in preparing our venue, making sure our venue's, top of the line, ready to go.
Sideshow Alley has been set up since the start of the week, with food vendors ready to welcome guests, and for the first time, a wheelchair-accessible Ferris wheel will be seen in the skyline. There will be all the usual attractions traditionally seen at a country show, and some new categories too.
And then even to now beer tasting competitions and brewing competitions and Anzac biscuit competitions. All those are in and can be visited in our pavilions area.
The Dubbo Show is the largest event held at the showground since COVID closures, and a lot has been happening behind the scenes to refresh the grounds.
Obviously our first thing that we see is our fence, our new boundary that as you come in. A lot of work's gone into that and renewing that and making the facade of the place look really well. Once in, we now have and is currently building new stables.
The show runs until 5 o'clock on Sunday. Sinead Fogarty, DRC News.
Mowing your lawn 3 to 4 times a week would be a burden for many, but when it's the size of a footy oval, it's even more daunting. However, that's exactly what DRC staff have been doing over the last month, preparing Apex Oval for the NRL match in just over a week's time.
Perfectly trimmed at 25mm, the grass at Apex Oval has never looked better. Staff have been using a special cylinder mower over the last month, meticulously mowing up to 4 times a week in preparation for the NRL match between the Rabbitohs and the Panthers.
It's the mower behind us. It's a cylinder mower that is the best way to keep the surface nice and smooth, but also our height of cut.
Sporting groups that usually use the fields have generously moved their games to different locations while council prepares the grounds for the NRL. Preparation includes updating the grandstands, landscaping and plenty of fertiliser.
So we use a lot of liquid fertiliser that's organic to keep everything just ticking over, and then we use granular fertiliser to get the big kick of growth, and then we use iron just for big events to get the grass to go really, really dark green.
As the countdown to kick-off approaches, staff will be making sure there is not a blade of grass out of place.
Basically, the line marking is really important. It comes down to millimetres and centimetres in sport, so we'll make sure the line marking is accurate.
The build-up to the game can also be seen in the streets of Dubbo, with plenty of red and green displays popping up in the celebration of the Festival of Footy. And while it's a Rabbitohs home game, there's sure to be some cheering from the opposition.
Well, the Festival of Footy in Dubbo, it's the first game we've had for many, many years of a city team playing in the country, and 2 favourite teams being South, of course, and the Panthers. And many of those Panther players actually originate from the area.
Businesses are encouraged to decorate their shops in team colours to celebrate the very first premiership NRL game in the region. Kelsey Galea, DRC News.
After recent rain and cropping, some farmers have taken the opportunity to burn off on their properties. This has prompted the New South Wales Rural Fire Service to ask Council to share some important information with the region's landowners. Landowners wishing to carry out a burn on their properties are asked to register with the New South Wales RFS ahead of time. The RFS has developed a QR code for people to use to lodge their notifications.
As part of legislative requirement, they need to contact the Rural Fire Service and notify us at least 24 hours before burning, and also they need to notify their neighbours, and that could be across the road, across a river, or their adjoining landowners.
The aim of making it easier to notify the RFS and to remind landholders to advise their neighbours when burning off is to reduce the number of unnecessary calls to 000 reporting a fire. Council staff recently raised money that benefited two local worthwhile organisations, Macquarie Homestay and the Dubbo Wig Library Volunteers Incorporated. Originally located at Dubbo Hospital's Oncology Unit, the Dubbo Wig Library Volunteers now operate from the Western Plains Cultural Centre. They are a locally run organisation providing their clients with wigs for not only cancer, but any medical condition that results in hair loss. President of the group, Carol Dixon, explains.
My name's Carol Dixon. I've been with the Wig Library about 3 years now. My role is that I'm one of the two volunteer hairdressers that we have in our committee. I'm the president of the Wig Library at the moment. So we originally were in oncology up at the base hospital, and when they built the new centre, the room that we had just wasn't big enough. We started looking around for new rooms. We really appreciate that we have access to a beautiful building, that the coffee shop is out the front. Quite often a client will come early and have themselves a cup of tea or coffee or a cold drink, or stay and have lunch where they're finished, and it's just a really nice environment to be in. We basically survive purely on donations. Council's internal staff have a once a month mufti day, and everyone brings food to share for the day and makes gold coin donations. Dubbo Wig Library and Macquarie Homestay were lucky to be the two recipients. We each received a cheque for $510.50, which was just amazing. One, because we didn't know it was coming, but two, that will give us enough money to buy a minimum of 2 wigs, maybe 3. We actually service clients for any client that has medically induced hair loss and not just cancer patients. I think the biggest impact is I was fitting a client and she said to me, I just want to go to the supermarket without everyone asking me what is wrong. She said, because I don't want people. She said, I've lived there for over 70 years and I don't want somebody saying to me, oh, are you all right? What's wrong? She said, I just want to do my groceries and the people that know me talk to me, and nobody else is going to take any notice. So it's actually not about how you look and presentation. It's actually about just being able to get on with your life without being conspicuous. They're the sorts of things, and I know people think that it's about vanity, but it's really about giving them enough courage to just get out of bed some days and being able to do that.
The inaugural Dubbo Fringe Festival was a huge success, with hundreds of people attending performances across the weekend. There were plenty of hilarious and interesting performances, including fire twirling, dancing and comedy. DRC provided $7,500 for the event, which brought significant cultural benefits to the region. The organisers of the festival are optimistic the event will be able to return again in the future. That's DRC News for this fortnight. Thank you for tuning in. If you have a story, you can get in touch online or by email.